dear listeners, we're always collecting real ghost stories. Here we share experiences that most people would never dare to talk about openly. And if you'd like, you can send us your own story too. We always keep your identity completely private. That means your name, address, or any personal details will never be revealed. We don't just collect these stories. We dig into them, explore every angle of fear, mystery, and thrill. Sometimes the stories go so far that even you'll start to wonder, did this really happen, or was it just imagination? You can send your story to us by email. Without wasting any time, let me get straight to the story. The moment I stepped off the Greyhound bus, it started pouring. I barely managed to save myself and ran under the awning of an old deli store. My watch showed 5:30 in the evening. The rain went on non-stop for nearly 2 hours. Just as it stopped, my cousin Brendan showed up. He came running out of breath and said, "Man, don't even ask, Sam. Dad took the umbrella, so I got delayed picking you up. How long have you been waiting here?" "About 2 hours, Brendan," I said. After that, we exchanged a few quick words and started heading toward his place. Brendan's my cousin from my mom's side. I live in New York City for work, but whenever I visit the rural areas of Virginia or Kentucky, I always stay at their house. Brendan's a year older than me, and we're more like friends than cousins. That's why I just call him by his first name. Evening had settled in. The thick fog made everything around us look even darker. We both lit up a Marlboro Red and started walking. The road to their house was muddy and unpaved. No car or pickup truck could make it through there. After all that rain, not a single soul was out. It's about a 2-mile walk to Brendan's house. A little further down that old road runs a small river from the Appalachian region. The locals call it Sonai Creek. Right on its bank lies an abandoned graveyard, and beside that, the ruins of an old church. We were walking and chatting along the way when, all of a sudden, my eyes drifted toward the graveyard. I saw a lantern glowing in the middle of it, and a few people gathered around. Brendan said, "Someone must have passed away. They probably brought the body to the graveyard. The rain must have delayed things a bit." I looked again. For some strange reason, a chill ran down my spine, goosebumps all over. I turned to Brendan and said, "Brendan, hey, Brendan." No answer. I grabbed his arm and said, "Come on, let's go." I don't know why, but I'm getting a really weird vibe. That's when I noticed, the arm I was holding was ice cold. I turned on my iPhone flashlight and pointed it at his face. What I saw nearly made me pass out. The person I thought was Brendan wasn't Brendan at all. He was about 2 feet taller than me, terrifying to look at, an ethereal, otherworldly being, and I was holding his hand. When I slowly lifted my head and looked up at his face, I saw his eyes bulging out of their sockets. He looked straight at me and said, "Hey, aren't you coming? Let's go. I got your grave dug for you. Come on." I was still holding his hand. My whole body was frozen, not an ounce of strength left. I wanted to scream, but no sound came out. I don't know how long I stood there like that. It felt like this was the end. That tonight might be my last night alive, so I closed my eyes and silently began to pray, calling out to Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. Then suddenly I screamed at the top of my lungs, "Oh my God, get away from me! In Jesus' name." The moment those words left my mouth, I felt strength rush back into my body. I opened my eyes. That horrifying figure beside me was gone. Everything around was silent. Only the soft patter of rain had started again. I turned on my iPhone flashlight and began searching for Brendan. "Brendan," I called out, but strangely enough, he was nowhere to be found. I looked around and saw a faint yellow glow coming from the direction of the old, ruined church near the graveyard. As I got closer, I could see a bonfire blazing, huge flames lighting up the dark. A few people were standing around it. I ran toward them, stumbling through the mud, shouting, "Help! Help me!" And when I finally reached the group, the person I saw standing there was my cousin Brendan. Gasping for breath, I said, "Brendan, where the hell did you go? Do you even know what I just saw?" Brendan looked at me and gave a faint smile. "I know, Sam. I know what you saw. But now I want to show you something. Want to see?" I figured since Brendan was here and there were people around, there was nothing to be afraid of anymore. Brendan took my hand and said, "Come on, follow me." He led me closer to the blazing bonfire. Then he said, "Look at it. "Can you recognize him?" I stared into the fire, and what I saw made my blood run cold. It wasn't just anyone burning in those flames. It was me, my own body, on fire. I froze in shock, and then suddenly, Brendan was gone. In his place stood that same terrifying figure again, clutching my hand. His eyes glowed like burning coals, and a monstrous grin spread across his face. A laugh so loud and twisted, it felt like it shook the entire graveyard. I broke free and ran. I didn't know where I was going or what direction I was headed. I just ran. My foot got stuck in the mud and one of my Nike sneakers came off, but I didn't stop running. "Brendan!" I kept shouting his name when suddenly I heard someone calling out loudly, "Sam! Sam! What's wrong with you?" I opened my eyes and saw Brendan's mom, my aunt, standing right in front of me. I told her everything, every single thing that had happened. She immediately told me to take a shower. "Sam," she said, "you must have had a terrible nightmare. Go take a shower, eat something, and you'll feel better. And your sneakers? You left them out on the porch steps. They're new. Maybe a raccoon or some wild animal dragged one off." I asked her, "When did I even get here?" She said, "You came yesterday evening around 5. You asked if dinner was ready, I served you food, and you went straight to bed. Brendan left early yesterday morning for Michigan to pick up some art supplies. He'll be back tonight." I didn't say another word. After breakfast, I just sat there quietly, but something kept nagging at me. In my dream, I saw my sneaker come off on that muddy road. That was supposed to be just a dream, right? So why can't I find my right sneaker now, in real life? When Brendan got back later that afternoon, I told him everything and asked him to come with me to the graveyard. We walked about 1.5 miles from the house, and there it was, my Nike sneaker, half buried in the mud, right on that same old road, the exact spot from my dream. But according to Aunt, I'd been home since 5 yesterday evening. I never went out last night. So how did my sneaker end up there? Did some wild animal really carry it all the way out? To that exact place? The same spot where I'd lost it in the dream? How is that even possible? I didn't tell Brendan anything more, but then something he said sent a chill straight through me. "You know what happened here last night, Sam?" he asked. I said, "No. What happened?" Brendan set down the beer can in his hand and pointed toward the old church ruins. "See that?" he said. "You can still see the marks where the fire burned last night. And over there, looks like someone's dug up fresh ground, like a new grave." He let out a deep sigh. "There was a horrible hit and run on the highway last night. A little kid and his grandmother. The car must have missed them in the thick fog. The boy's body was burned so badly that some folks had to cremate him right here near the graveyard." Brendan lifted his hand and showed me. The fresh grave on one side, the burnt charcoal on the other. They say the kid's shoe was never found. The local sheriff thinks maybe someone stole it, or an animal carried it off. I just stood there speechless. I hadn't known any of this. Then what did that dream mean? Why did that horrifying figure show me a grave? And why did I see my own body burning in the fire? All the fear inside me slowly gave way to something else. A deep, aching sorrow for that helpless child and his grandmother. How fragile human life is. How powerless we are before nature. I looked up at the sky, the same sky that had poured down heavy rain just hours earlier, and whispered a quiet prayer in my heart. "May they rest in peace, Lord." The story I'm about to share takes place in a small-town public elementary school, somewhere like Vermont or Oregon. First, I want to thank the brother who sent this story. I'm reading it exactly as he wrote it, only changing names and locations for privacy. I went to this school when I was a kid, and over the years I heard all sorts of ghost stories about it. Right behind the school is an old abandoned cemetery, an old pioneer cemetery, dating back to the 1800s. Many people believe that because of this cemetery, spirits or ghosts often wander near the school. The school itself is a 3-story building, and right next to it is a middle high school for girls. From the moment I enrolled in the elementary school, teachers strictly forbade anyone from going up to the roof. They said something sinister could be seen up there. There were rumors that if someone went to the roof, they might see a woman in a white gown, or sometimes people claimed they were pushed off from the upper floors. On rare occasions, malevolent spirits would even appear disguised as teachers. Because of all this, the roof was kept locked most of the time. Teachers would only unlock it for emergencies, otherwise, the doors stayed firmly shut. Once I started hearing these ghost stories about the school, a strange curiosity sparked inside me. I really wanted to see a ghost for myself, so on the sly, I would sometimes sneak up the stairs to the roof. But almost every time I climbed halfway, about 3.5 floors up, I'd get this intense fear, this eerie chill crawling over me, and I'd quickly head back down. My little missions went on like this for several days, but now I'm ready to share the main event that actually happened. The timeline for my story is the fall of 2009. Incident 1, the watching woman. When I enrolled at that Hillside elementary school, my older sister Jessica was a senior in high school, preparing for her SSD exams. Jessica went to the girls' high school while I was in the elementary section. This was back in 2009. Up until that point, I hadn't seen anything supernatural with my own eyes at the school, but Jessica had told me a lot about the strange things that happened there. One day, she shared an experience she had witnessed herself. Before classes started, the high school girls would do physical training, PT exercises, out in the open field in front of the school. The girls had to face toward the elementary school while doing their exercises. At that time, Jessica was in 9th grade, not yet a senior. During PT, Jessica would sometimes glance up at the elementary school roof. One day while doing her exercises, she looked up and saw a woman pacing back and forth on the roof, wearing an old-fashioned floral gown. Jessica immediately looked away, feeling a bit scared. After a few moments, she glanced back and saw that the woman was now staring directly down at them, fixedly. Jessica realized this was not normal. She didn't look up again. When PT ended, she looked up once more, and the woman was gone. Later, Jessica found out that the school roof had been locked that entire day. So, who was the woman she had seen? Jessica eventually shared the story with her classmates, but no one could explain it. Jessica later found out that several other girls had seen strange things on the roof, too. One day, in Miss Jenkins's class, a girl suddenly stood up and said, "Miss Jenkins, yesterday after school, when everyone had already gone home, I crossed the street to buy some candy from the ice cream truck before heading home. As I was coming back, I happened to glance toward the school, and I saw something. Near the corner window on the 2nd floor, there was a girl sitting outside, literally hovering in the air. She was wearing a long, old-fashioned red dress with bracelets on her wrists and a lace scarf over her head. She looked like some kind of old-time bride. She wasn't looking down or around, just staring straight ahead, right at herself, almost frozen in place. I kept staring for a while. She didn't move at all. Then, terrified, I ran home. Miss Jenkins grew serious and said quietly, "Don't tell anyone else about what you saw. And from now on, when school's over, no one is to play near the building. You all know there's some bad energy in certain parts of this school." Here's another incident I know about the school. At the girls' high school, there was a female administrative assistant who handled all the paperwork and day-to-day tasks. She had a son named Niall. I heard from some local boys that one afternoon, about half an hour before sunset, Neil climbed up a fire escape ladder behind the elementary school to the 2nd floor. His bicycle was left on the ground below. At that time, the school was empty. After 5 o'clock, the entire campus usually cleared out. There was a caretaker at the far corner of the girls' high school who locked the main gate after 5. That day, he had locked it as usual, but he knew Niall was sitting on the fire escape ladder behind the elementary school. Apparently, Niall fell asleep up there. When he woke up, he realized he was lying on the rooftop. It was late at night, completely silent, and his bicycle was gone. Still exhausted, he didn't think much of it and fell back asleep. By early morning, he realized he was lying on the ground, in intense pain all over his body. That meant he had either somehow thrown or fallen from the roof. When the caretaker came in to open the school gates in the morning, he recognized Neil and quickly made arrangements to take him home. But Neil never could remember how he ended up falling from the roof. My dad has 3 brothers, 4 of them in total. The incident happened about 10 years ago in a quiet little town called Willow Creek in the state of Ohio, USA. By day, Willow Creek was peaceful and beautiful. But once night fell, the whole place turned strange and mysterious. That's where my Uncle Mark had a small farmhouse surrounded by open green fields, and behind it, a dark, dense forest that always looked like it was hiding something. One evening, just before sunset, the two of us were working in the barn. Suddenly, I noticed a large black dog running toward us from the distance, its eyes glowing red, fur standing on end, foam dripping from its mouth. The dog burst straight into the barn, ripping apart the cow's feed, sending the animals into a frenzy. They were bellowing in fear. We both rushed to stop it. Uncle Mark lunged toward the door, and just as the dog tried to run out, the door suddenly slammed shut. The dog's head got caught in the crack, and within seconds, it went completely still. It was dead. We stood there frozen, not knowing what to do. Finally, Mark said, "We can't leave the body here. I'll take it into the woods." His oldest daughter, Emily, she was only 12 at the time, insisted, "Dad, I'm coming with you." No matter how much he tried to convince her to stay, she wouldn't listen. So in the end, he gave in. The two of them went into the woods, left the dog's body there, and came back. Everything seemed normal that night, but by the next morning, strange things began to happen. Emily came down with a terrible fever. When night fell, her mother screamed for help. We all rushed into the room, and what we saw made our blood run cold. Emily was shaking, her eyes rolled back, and she kept repeating the same words over and over. "I don't belong here. I need to go to the woods. They're calling me." She was just 12 years old, but it was like something inside her had gained incredible strength. No one could hold her down. We finally had to tie her to the bed. Moments later, she passed out. Pop! I got scared when I saw what Emily was doing. Right away, we called in an old pastor from the neighboring town, Mr. George Anderson. He was an exorcist, experienced at casting out spirits. A retired pastor from the town's old church, he'd performed exorcisms more times than anyone could count. Pastor George arrived at our house quickly. The moment I brought him into Emily's room, she suddenly regained consciousness. Her eyes opened, and she looked at the pastor with a strange smile. Not her normal childlike smile, but a mocking, contemptuous grin. Then, in a deep, heavy male voice, she spoke. "You brought him here. He can't do anything to us. His prayers can't touch us. No one will take this girl away from us. Leave now, old man. If you stay, you will all suffer." The room went cold when that voice came out of her, but Pastor George didn't flinch. He moved slowly toward Emily, took hold of the little finger on her left hand, and began to pray in a calm voice. He started reading from his book and quietly blew into her ear. Emily's body began to thrash. She pulled against the bed ropes. Then, suddenly, she went limp and passed out. Still, the pastor didn't stop. With his eyes closed, he kept praying. After a while, Emily's whole body started shaking, and the air in the room felt heavy. Then her eyes opened again, but they weren't her eyes anymore. It was like someone else was looking out of them. Pastor George asked calmly, "How many of you are there? Why are you hurting this girl?" This time, many voices came from Emily at once, male and female, layered together into a single terrifying chorus. "We are 7 spirits. Last night, this girl walked through our woods. Our little sister was resting along the path. She stepped over her. Our brother fell in love with this girl. We want her. Soon we will take her. Try to stop us if you can." Then a twisted smile spread across Emily's face, and the air in the room grew cold, like a fog had settled over everything. Pastor George began praying loudly, sprinkling holy water on Emily's face. Immediately, Emily let out a piercing scream, and then went completely still. About 10 minutes later, her eyes opened. She was breathing slowly, steadily. Pastor George took a glass of water, mixed in some special substances, and made her drink it. Then he looked at us and said, "This isn't over. There are powerful spirits here. Be careful. These are very strong spirits. They've left her body for now, but they will return. I can guarantee that. I'm too old to fight them anymore. You'll need the help of another exorcist or pastor from the city. I'm giving you a holy medal. place it around her neck after a little while. He left the room. Later, I went to his house, got the medal, and put it around Emily's neck. Amazingly, within a few hours, Emily returned to normal. She smiled, talked, acted like nothing had ever happened. From the very next day, we started searching for well-known exorcists and spiritual healers in the city. By noon, we learned about a famous pastor north of Willow Creek, Father James Miller. He had performed hundreds of exorcisms and had healed countless people. We all took Emily together to this renowned spiritual healer in the nearby county seat. Locals called him Mr. Crow. When we arrived, there was a long line of people in the light fog, all seeking help from far and wide. We slowly joined the queue. After a short while, it was our turn. An assistant led us into Mr. Crow's chamber. The moment we entered the chamber, Mr. Crow didn't say a word. He had Emily sit in the center of a circular formation. Silently, he began chanting a few mantras and slowly blew over her head. As he continued, Emily's whole body started shaking violently. Then, suddenly, a chorus of mixed voices burst out of her mouth. "We will take this girl. Whatever you do, it won't matter," Mr. Crow said calmly. That they weren't listening. He finally took out a small bottle and began blowing into it with his chants. The moment he did, it felt as if the floor beneath us trembled. The still air in the chamber shifted into a sudden earthquake-like vibration. The voices inside Emily rose together in a single desperate plea. "Let our little sister go and don't hurt her anymore. We will release her, but there is a condition. You must leave a piece of black cloth at our dwelling in the woods." As soon as those words were spoken, Emily collapsed, unconscious. A short while later, she regained awareness. We thanked Mr. Crow and left the chamber. That night, we took the black cloth and placed it in the specific spot in the woods, just as instructed. From that moment on, Emily slowly returned to full health. Years have passed, and she hasn't had a single problem since.